So I guess I'll go ahead and kick us off. Because Hermes, I don't know if you have a ton of uh, questions lined up um, quite yet. But
No,
I'll just go ahead and give us a kickoff, and then we can just immediately kind of get into it. So, I mean, obviously, as everyone knows, I was equally as excited as everyone else to see season 2 come out. I have to admit, like I spent an insane amount of time playing the game. I was up and down, and I was, enjoying it, and looking forward to, the next phases of it, which is, having some of the additional features and stuff implemented. Um, I think everybody here on this call is now up to date on like what happened. Obviously, there was an exploit, and I was actually kind of shocked, impressed, and saddened all at the combination of all those feelings at the same time. That the record speed at which somebody that obviously follows the project and is probably a member of the community. Had found an exploit, and instead of raising that exploit to the team and using that the skill set that they possess for good, decided to milk the project and exploit the platform, and then subsequently make massive amounts of cells. You can't control what other people do. I am would be lying if I said that I wasn't slightly disheartened by it, but we're not necessarily going to let that deter us. It has introduced a speed bump, but not going to let it deter us. And so, with that being said, work is being done to rectify the exploit that we have. First stage of that was to investigate it, to try to identify exactly what was happening, and then the second component to that is then setting about a plan to correct or rectify that issue. But then there's a third component that's still being worked out, which is to what degree does the rest of the platform, especially specifically the changes introduced with season 2, do we need to investigate further to make sure that there aren't any additional exploits that could be, that could be discovered. So, obviously there's a need for some critical testing. We, were very much delayed in delivering season 2, and so there was a sense of urgency of shipping, it out. And there was some internal testing that was done, and there was a high degree of confidence in the platform. But ultimately, what was discovered, was discovered, and everybody knows, what happened next. So I'll park it right there before moving through too much more, because I know that that's kind of a bit to unpack. So we'll pause there real quick and see, Hermes, if there's any questions or anything specific to that.
So before we move on to the question, just to highlight one thing, because many of you have raised this issue, the exploits or potential exploits that might still be there, that's what we're investigating at the moment, have nothing to do with your accounts. So your accounts are as secure as they were before, because that part actually hasn't been touched from season 1 to season 2. So the staking, the deposits, the withdrawals, the claims, that is all the same. Well, kind of, we actually did a small bug correction this week. I did mention it, and I can mention it again. But in terms of security, that part is fine. So what Matt, when he mentions exploits, we're talking about season 2 gameplay and potential exploits that come from that. Talking of, since I got your attention about updates, there are 3 major updates. One of them you can already see, which is something that I had mentioned before that was coming, which is now when you try to stake, you're going to get a big message in front of your eyes that says, are you sure you want to stake? So the same way that you had it for the withdrawals. So no longer fat fingering can cause you to be stuck for 10 days. You have to confirm it twice. The other was a kind of outlier case, and I thank the person that actually reported, because this happened to them which is when you try to stake. Oh, normally when you try to stake, if you still have rewards to claim, those immediately end up in your available tokens. They don't get staked together. But the way we have the system set up is you can't claim if you have less than 1 MK to claim, just to avoid gazillion transaction happening just because someone decides to press the button non-stop. Apparently, this actually caused a little issue there, which is if you try to stake and you had less than 1 MK to claim, that very small fraction will end up nowhere. So we have corrected that, and now if you try and stake, even if you have like 0.001 MK, that will end up in your available token. Not much you can do with that, but it's there. It doesn't disappear now. That is pretty much in terms of updates on our end. One of the things that Martin mentioned that is coming up with a new version after it's all patched up in fixed is we are going to set at the beginning a max bet. For now, it's going to be maximum 10K, and this is based on the poll we had running here on Discord, where almost 70% of you guys voted for that option. This is not going to be a permanent value. This is something that we're going to try out for the beginning and see what happens. If we see that you guys want to bet more, we're going to increase it a bit more. But this is going to be like a sort of a safety net in case something is there and we can't find it. And so to avoid anyone doing as much damage so fast like what happened during this weekend. The other thing I want to assign, and something that someone's already asking in the chat, and I see you guys, which is, can we revert to season 1? Kind of, but we're trying to avoid it because it's not as simple as do a Control-Z and go back to the previous version. So to do that, we actually have to do the same thing, and Matt can probably go into much more technical detail than I can, but it will literally be disconnecting everything we have with season 1, going back to disconnecting everything we have currently with season 2, going back to season 1, and as you guys saw from one transfer to the other, that actually took some time. It does cause some issues, especially if you have like wallets connected, because most of you had to clear caches so things would work again. Bit tricky. So yeah, we're trying to avoid it. I mean, if it reaches the point where we realize that this is going to take weeks, I'm guessing that is a possibility. Matt can confirm this after I finish. But for now, we're trying not to avoid it. I think it's preferable for us to have these days, hopefully not too many now, of paused arena, than having to revert back and forward, which would cause much more potential for errors and damages. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, sort of. Yeah, it's slightly more nuanced than that. Mostly because we elected to continue the stats into season 2, carry them over versus starting completely fresh, and to revert back to season 1 would be a little bit tricky, just because of that particular element. Now, with that being said, I'm assuming that probably even the mention of the word weeks probably sent shivers down people's spines. This isn't that big of an issue. Obviously, we're wanting to address the issue in the most appropriate manner and not make rash, quick fixes that could potentially blow up in our face again. But with that being said, we're actively working on it. I don't envision this taking anything even remotely close to weeks. I mean, we're talking days at most, realistically. So, but we are committed to providing you guys as much relevant updates as we possibly can throughout the day, and as we continue to bring it back online. My intention is to reopen season 2 with unpaused battles, with some safeguards in place. So yeah, deadlines, Matt, deadlines. Yeah, I hate saying specific days because I feel like I'm cursed when it comes to MK. So I'm not going to say a specific date, time, or anything. Just that obviously this is, as you can imagine, our number one focus. Like as a team, we're hyper focused on getting season 2 reopened again. When we do reopen it, like Hermes had mentioned, we will be putting some max bet safeguards in place. and we will obviously communicate with the community at large of when those get removed. And I'm assuming that as we do that, there'll also be some additional features that will open up as well. But yeah, we're currently, I mean, right now in the background, as we're speaking here, working towards implementing a solution to get season 2 back online. We do see a point in the future where another version of season 1 is opened back up, but not necessarily for anything other than kind of like nostalgic purposes and just being able to kind of like revisit where the game started. But in terms of opening up the actual like the wagering component, the season 1 battle arena, our focus is to implement and continue to support season 2 and onwards. So I'll pause there.
So it's Time Bandit Time.
Okay.
I decided that's the name of the sequel, Time Bandit Time. It's a time sandwich. There you go. Time sandwich time.
What's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Gotcha.
Hello, sir.
Last week, I got my microphone somehow had switched, and I was muted for a while, but then I got it right. This week's going smoother for me anyway. How you doing, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've had better weeks, but this is nothing but just another test, another trial. I think that the story that will be written in the long term is an applause to the to the wherewithal of the whole MK team, and that extends obviously to Hermes and community support all the way to the developers and people that are cracking away on the actual technical side of things. Like there's been bumps and bruises throughout the entirety of this project's journey, but it hasn't diminished people's capacity to want to continue, which leaves me feeling inspired. But taking a few hits on the chin usually doesn't make for the best week.
Yeah, but that's sometimes a good thing. Whatever doesn't kill you usually just pisses you off, makes you meaner and stronger.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's I'm not worried about this. I don't think the people are really worried about it going away. We're just kind of ticked off that somebody in the community would do this, but that's people. You gotta have they'll do that. But
Yeah.
as far as the game, I've got a criticism for you on it. I mean, season 2, and that's just me, but knowing whoever goes first is going to win really kind of kills the fun a little bit,
Well,
Did you
just
notice
a
that?
point of clarification: whoever goes first isn't necessarily the winner. I think that the issue is that that there is a higher likelihood. It's not 50-50. It's a higher likelihood that if you strike first, that it'll be victorious. Now, the character, the meme that goes first, was intended all along in the product design to be shielded, to not be so clearly visible. And so that that is obviously the attack vector that was discovered.
Right.
And so, yeah, and
I understand that, but I'm just talking about if you didn't know. Well, all of my bets that it went first, my guy didn't go first, lost, and that was all of them.
And so there is another element though that we didn't get introduced but had intended to introduce with the season 2 deployment, which is the ability for these characters to block an attack. Like for instance, like the spirit bomb attack that we all were cheering every time our character that we had bet on to win had thrown a spirit bomb. Right. We have, it's already built in to the gameplay's architecture. It just wasn't released with the initial launch of season 2. But the ability for a character to randomly block an attack would implement another safeguard against,
Yeah.
like for instance, this exploit, because then all of a sudden it really kind of nullifies whoever goes first as having that, that high advantage. Now there's still obviously some, some level of calculation that you could make, and we do not want that to be a metric that people can rely on to try to, cheat the game. But with that being said, yeah, the introduction of that, along with eliminating the visibility on which character is assigned to go, to attack first, I feel pretty confident that that would alleviate a lot of the issues, which is the direction that we're going.
But I'm just talking about a enjoyment part of it. Whenever it happened to me, I didn't know. I just the game I played. I can't play it constantly, but everyone I saw happened that way. And so when I put a bet down, if my character didn't go first, that was it. And it wasn't as much fun as your excitement and your anticipation. Hey, is he going to pull it out in the last? Because I already knew, or I thought I did, that he was going to lose. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Does it
yeah,
make
and I
sense?
think that kind of going back to my previous comment too, I think that
Yeah,
that the introduction of the blocking mechanic would, I think, maybe change that experience for you, and then obviously for everybody else as well, knowing that you have to pay close attention, because just because a particular character goes first doesn't necessarily mean that they have any sort of advantage in the final outcome.
exactly. Just from an enjoyment standpoint.
Yeah.
That's why you
But
go.
we
That's why
want to
you go
make
to a
sure that
boxing match.
you,
People get mad when Mike Tyson, knocks somebody out in 30 seconds.
I know, right? Exactly. Yeah.
But other than that, it's great. I think the graphics are great. Worked on all my platforms. Uh, there was a little lag at first, but then it smoothed out. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I've still got great faith in the team and in you and in Hermes there. Uh, the community, I see we're all griping, of course, but we're still there. And I think these AMAs where everybody can hear you uh, is a big part of that. That's why we're still here. So y'all keep it up and have a good one.
I appreciate that time, Bandit. Yeah, we're gonna obviously continue to keep cracking away and get season 2 out, and just thank everybody in advance for sticking with us through this. But appreciate you jumping up on stage like usual, and see you next week.
Next week. Later, Hermes.
Later. Okay, so I just panicked because I just saw the gift that was on the chat. It looked like something else. I swear to God, if YouTube flags this video because of that gift. Okay, there's a couple of questions. There's actually one which many of you have been asking, which is there any plans to improve the mobile version? So to make it more
Of
clear
course.
for people that aren't aware of, some of you have complained that the mobile version is a bit too heavy in some devices. It takes a bit too low the first time. So we have been gathering information from you lot. Obviously, right now you can't test it, but when we're up and running again, if you have issues, do go over to the feedback channel and drop your information so the team can test it. Because as much as any game design team wants to test things, there are so many models of phones these days that sometimes it's a bit tricky to figure out what's going on with all of them. But as Matt can attest, obviously we want to make it run as smooth and as many machines as possible.
Yeah, and there's also kind of another layer to that as well, Hermes. I mean, I won't go into great detail because I don't think anyone asked me to, but as we pushed out season 2, the site itself had to propagate over many different instances of the internet worldwide. So there were some people in some parts of the world that it worked perfectly and seamlessly, both on PC and mobile device. And then there was other parts where they were just getting black screens or just not quite receiving all of the packets necessary to run the on-screen application. So there's a bit of a delay depending on where you're at in the world. When we say this is live or this has been introduced, that just means that we've done our part, we've pushed it out, and then there is still, some latency on the internet side of things before everybody, gets the full picture. So we'll try to keep that in mind as well when we're, communicating things outwards, that there are some changes there. So
there is a question about the arena pool. So the arena pool currently sits at 8.1 million tokens, and at the beginning of season 2 we had 10 million tokens. In season 1, what did the pool started with? What was the lowest and highest that it ever reached? Do you know the numbers by heart?
I don't know the numbers by heart. I know in a general sense. So season 1 started with 10 million. Season 2 also started with approximately 10 million. It was the balance of the pool at the conclusion of season 1 is what season 2 had started with. During season 1, I'd probably say most notably at the launch of season 1, I believe that the reserves had dropped far more significantly than where we are right now. I want to say that it had even gone down to as low as somewhere in the 6 million range before recovering back up to at or around the starting point. So the current balance of the reserves, I'm not super concerned about it. We had some fluctuation at the very launch of season 2, and then there was obviously some recovery on that there as more people wagered and were enjoying the game. So I'm not really concerned about the current balance of it, if that's was the point of the question.
It was. The other question related to the game, and I know many of you have asked this before, and someone just pinged me about it, which was why weren't the stats reset with season 2? We were looking forward to a fresh start. So they mean the battle stats for each character.
Yeah, so the thing of it is that with a completely wiped out stats, fresh start, there was going to be some very wild, very aggressive odds as a result of these characters not having any sort of background stats. And quite honestly, what we were looking to do is to eliminate the ability for some actors within the community to exploit the game in that way, which is kind of now at this stage is kind of
redundant.
Yeah. So
yeah. So just to clarify, because I know that you guys are going to ask this, so at the moment we're not planning on doing any reset during season 2, correct?
At this point, no, that we don't have any plans to reset the player stats or the battle stats.
Okay.
When season 2 is when battles resume.
Perfect. The other question we've been getting a lot is there any plans to do buybacks at the moment to try and compensate for the decrease from the last weekend?
Decrease specifically, obviously, in relation
That's the token price.
To the token price, yeah. So I'm going to defer this response mostly because I obviously need to speak to the team first on this and have some discussions around that, but also because I think it's a little premature to discuss that, especially in this type of a format. I mean, I know that people in the community are really wanting to have answers to some things like this, but at the same time, I'm not wanting to give fuel to the fire that of individuals that may or may not be listening or anticipating or plotting their next move to try to harm this project. So what I can say is that as a team, if a decision is made on this, we will more than likely act first and then notify the community later, versus saying like hey, in 2 hours we're going to do this. Mostly just because unfortunately this project does have a high propensity for individuals that want to seize on opportunities to take advantage of it. So yeah.
Okay, so the short answer is inside trading bad. We're not going to tell you when the buyback is going to happen. We're going to tell you after it happens. Okay. So I'm trying to figure out, Alan, what do you mean? Sorry, I think I missed one of your messages because the second sentence is not making much sense for me. You mean about the buybacks? You just said, can we expect by this week? Oh, the game launch. Okay. Hopefully so. At least that's we are hoping. Yeah, when? Yeah, I know. At least we're hoping so. I mean, we actually initially thought that the relaunch wasn't going to take this long, but it seemed clearly that the team has decided to take a more safe approach, so it's taking a bit longer than expected.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the developers are very much human beings, just like the rest of us, and so they're they're working at capacity. And I know that everybody that puts the time, effort, and energy behind the scenes on this project cares about the quality and the outcomes that that happen. And so I'm doing my best to not try to be pushy and create an element of urgency that doesn't serve the best interest of the project. Meaning like trying to create some hyper urgency that just would ultimately cause either another mistake or a misstep, or not allow for the team to take into consideration everything that should be taken into consideration at this stage, given what we experienced over the weekend. So that's currently where we sit. So but there is obviously a sense of urgency. You guys feel it, I feel it, we all feel it. And what we can say is that as soon as humanly possible, we will reintroduce battles for season 2 and get Meme Kombat Arena back up and running, and then continue with executing on our plan in terms of both, supporting the token, supporting the project, and supporting the game platform, through marketing, community engagement, and everything else.
Do you notice that he didn't say as soon as possible? He doesn't want us to win the drinking game. So sorry about that, guys. No shots for anyone. Question that I've been noticing popping up, and there's also in the VC questions, is about updates on the circulating supply, mainly on the CoinGecko and Coin Marketplace. So whether if we are planning on updating that there, or if it's one of those situations that there's not much we can do.
I don't think it's one of the situations that there's not much that we can do. I think it obviously it involves reaching out with like an accredited member
Again.
of their team. Yeah, again, yeah. And so it's, I guess my question that I would give back to whoever's posing this one is uh, does the accurate circulating supply, which is not too far deviated from what they currently represent, I mean, what strategic value is it that we're missing by having that updated? But I mean, that may or may not be a necessary question for this format. But we have a lot of things at the moment that we are obviously trying to sort out and work through and implement. And so I would rank that lower on the list. But we could definitely capture that. And I don't really think that it would be a tall order to reach out to CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap again and ask them to do these things. But they are not beholden to us whatsoever. They don't work for us. We don't work for them. So
one of those interesting symbiosis relationships. The other question that actually comes from the same person, but I've seen some of you asking about this as well, which is, are there updates coming up in Decision, more backgrounds like the space one we saw, different music, different attacks, different defenses? So if this is something that is still coming now or not, or if it's something that's just planned for much later.
Yeah, I mean, so the team that's helped us bring season 2 to life has spent a pretty decent amount of time preparing additional backgrounds and working to create, you know, these really vibrant attack vectors for each one of these characters. So there is more in season 2 than what, you know, the limited experience that you guys got to see, and our goal is to roll those out. The priority obviously was to get the gameplay experience to you guys just as quickly as we possibly could, given that we were, you know, behind our stated schedule for implementing it. But we do have some other items that we will be introducing as we roll out season 2 completely, and that includes, you know, different backgrounds and you know, other elements to the game. So I mean, and there was also some other plan improvements on the foundational layer side, from, you know, being able to adjust the slippage so that your bets didn't fail, things like that, that we are also currently actively working on as well. So there are, just kind of like season 1, there are some improvements, some things that we were looking to turn on and go live with as we move through the early days of season 2, and that's still our plan.
Question about updates for roadmap for new investors. Can the roadmap be updated to highlight the future initiatives like the NFT integration and season 3, so the new investors are aware of future plans? So this is more for the
Yeah,
website.
I mean, so what I said, you know, last week during the AMA, and then, you know, the week before, I think still carries over and is applicable. Our goal is still to get season 2 fully implemented, to get through this, so that we have the capacity as a team to kind of sit back and take a deep breath and all agree on what the trajectory is moving towards season 3 and beyond, from a roadmap perspective. Excuse me, from a roadmap perspective. And really, the reason for that is because, I mean, it is a commitment. It's a personal commitment, a professional commitment for the people that work on Meme Kombat behind the scenes. It's not a small thing. It's a huge time commitment, both personally and professionally. And so I want to make sure that as we lock in what season 3 is to be, that we all enter into that with a full understanding, because having to pivot and make changes both from a personnel level, from a developer level, you know, midway through or any stage really, it's difficult. It can be very difficult. So we're going to get there. The roadmap will be addressed, will be updated, but we're just not at that stage yet. We're still working on delivering season 2 to the, you know, best of our abilities. So
Okay.
we'll have to readdress that later on.
So a couple of questions about the NFTs. I'm trying to like kind of group this question so that we don't jump all over the place. First question is an easy one, which is someone who's, and I know some of you have asked this before, which is the possibility of updating the banner that's on the website to make it a bit more eye-catching, because we know there are a couple of NFT images that repeat there, and you guys want it to be a bit more dynamic. This is being discussed already with the stuff that's in charge of the webpage. In fact, I think Matt has mentioned in previous MAs that with the launch of season 2, that was one of the other things we wanted to do, was give an update to some sections of the website. Obviously, now with the pause of season 2, that kind of went into the back burner, but that is in the plans. Don't worry, you haven't been ignored, and I've seen you guys asking about this a couple of times. There is a question for you, Matt, which is: has it been decided on how exactly the NFTs will work in season 3? The correct answer there is it's not season 3, as far as I remember.
I mean, so in terms of overall integration of NFTs being used in the game, uh, there is a decided on there is a decided on format on how that works. But I hesitate to share that openly and publicly because just as history would, support, that doesn't necessarily mean that if that's what is decided on or what the agreement is as of today, that can't and won't change in the future as we look to implement it. Um, so yeah, I mean, we obviously as a team do have a vision about what additional formats of gameplay look like, what it could look like, and uh, you know, I'm excited about the proposals or about the prospects of the direction that we can go with the people with the resources that we have right now. But with the introduction of additional people, additional resources, that could also open up other doors that are even more exciting. So that's kind of like a half answer, but I'll leave it there for now.
Okay, and now I'm gonna put Matt in the spotlight because I didn't ask him this before the meeting, and I know there's a certain member of the community that's been asking this quite a lot. Hi, Tika. Which is, are we going to resume the NFT giveaway while the game is down, while the arena is down during these days?
Hermes, actually, I'll defer to you on that. I think I've kind of given you the NFT czar hat.
I have the power now. I have the power.
He does. I mean,
honestly, initially I wasn't planning on. I'll be honest with you. I'll be fully transparent with you guys. Initially, I wasn't planning on doing it because the information I had was like, oh, this is a patch we can do it in one day. So I didn't thought it was going to be that long. To be honest, if we can't resume season 2 by today, I'll count both Sunday, Monday, and today. So that will be 3 NFTs. It's the same list. I actually closed the form because I hadn't received new names in a while, and we had officially launched season 2. But I can reopen it again if you guys prefer. The names are still there. They haven't been removed in any way because I'm actually still waiting for. I think one person hasn't reached out to me. I'm actually going to ping them today, just in case they might be out on holidays or something. But yeah, if it doesn't restart today, I'm going to carry on doing the giveaways. So TK eventually will get the NFT and be happy. I'm going to vocalize someone on the chat that says, "Who are the exploiters? I know you are surely listening in. Time to own up." I don't think they're going to own up. It would be cool, but I don't think we had. I believe we had proofs right now that their morals are not exactly the highest ones at this point. As Matt mentioned, they could have taken the high road and realized there was an exploit there and pointed it out to us. And the funny thing is, I would have actually rewarded them for it. Instead, they just decided to go for the low end and do a me moment and break the fun for everyone.
Yep.
I don't think there's anything else, at least not from my end that I can see. So unless you have any extra information you want to add, I think we can stop here. Even though now I'm being pinged. Why am I being pinged? What did I miss? What did I miss, Anna? I'm gonna update the raid messages on Telegram today. They've been tormenting me since Sunday because I haven't updated the raid messages because it still says season 2. I know. I thought, like I said, I really had the information was going to come out that day, so I thought I'm not going to be updating all these things and then re-updating them the next day. I'll update them right after I have the video up. That's fine.
Love and appreciate this community for always keeping us on our toes. So.
Now, jokes apart, I do appreciate you guys, and like I mentioned before in several places, I do appreciate all the support. Many of you actually DM'd me during the time I was out, which wasn't exactly the best time of my life. So I do appreciate it and the patience that you guys had with Matt while I was out. So that is very appreciated. There's actually one question now because someone talking about the ads reminded me something, which is it isn't written here, but you guys have been asking several times, what's happening with the marketing? Obviously, with the pause of the arena, we have paused everything because I mean we're not going to exactly advertise come and play Meme Kombat and then people get here and the arena's paused. So yeah, as soon as
Yeah,
season
and
2 is running and stable, then yeah.
Yeah, we had
comes
said,
back.
you know, over the weekend when season 2 came live, that the intention was on Monday, right? But you know, it was you know, before we even got into the Monday timeframe, all of a sudden, you know, what happened. So like Hermie said, you know, things are currently on pause. Obviously, we don't want to like go out and say, come check out our project, and then they come and then it's paused, like everything's, you know, just on hiatus. But so everything is still in place. Everything is prepared and ready to go. We're just, you know, again, not to rehash it, but we are doing the best efforts to rectify the issue with season 2 and get it back online and live. And then we will continue with our strategy as we've detailed in previous AMAs, and that'll be what happens. So we just have to work on getting there first. So we'll leave it there.
Okay. So once again, thank you guys for your time. Thank Matt for being available here every week as you do. Matt right now has more weeks than I do, thanks to last week. And hope to see you guys in the arena very, very soon. Like Matt mentioned, we hope that this small bump on the road is going to be a very short one, and we'll be back in full strength and show the world the power of Meme Kombat.
Sounds great. All right. Thanks, everybody. See you guys out there.